more technically proficient moves in the history of boxing.
Knocking guys out. Every time they do the punch, he moves there and he wasn't getting hit.
It's now a well-known story of the troubled 12-year-old Mike Tyson being taken in by legendary trainer Cus D'Amato and given a second chance at life. After a few minutes watching Mike spar, the boxing sage laid out the blueprint for the rest of Tyson's life. Cus's innovative mind invented a new style of boxing, a combination of aggressive offense and defense. With the fighters handheld at the side of their face, it was dubbed by D'Amato's critics as the Peekaboo style. It was based on his favorite fighter, Maxie Rosenblum's uncanny ability to slow punches. But Rosenblum's overly cautious style didn't please the crowd, so Cus altered the style so his fighters could defensively press forward as aggressive counterpunchers. His students were to follow a simple yet effective formula. Move your head, avoid punches, and then attack. Originally, people laughed at the unusual style, but slowly as he produced champions with the style, his unorthodox methods became more respected. And after Mike Tyson's blazing heavyweight reign while employing D'Amato's techniques, to proclaim the Peekaboo as a world-class style is now an indisputable fact. It is no coincidence that Floyd Patterson, Jose Torres, and Mike Tyson all became world champions under the tutelage of Cus D'Amato. The style worked.
The D'Amato style of boxing, hands up, chin down, moving aggressively in an elusive bobbing motion, exploding punches in a flurry.
Style is a mixture of aggressiveness and defensiveness, and it's a very hard style to master for the most record.
D'Amato and Tyson developed a relationship that was more than teacher and student. They were like father and son as well.
I'm not a creator. What I do is discover and uncover. My job is to take the spark and fan it. When it starts to become a little flame, I feed it. When I feed the fire, it becomes a roaring blaze. And then when it becomes a roaring blaze, I pour huge rocks on it. Then you really got a fire going. That's what I do with people.
He was an amazing guy with an unprecedented grasp of the mindset required for combat sports.
You know, nothing matters. You're nothing. The only thing that matters is the objective. And accomplishing that objective by going through these methods of boxing.
Tyson was an incredible pupil. So what Cus taught him, which was legitimate, stayed with him.
I tell them that in the beginning when they start, they will do their job as well as I do mine. The result is the same on the team.
The fear being hit is felt by every fighter. And to combat that fear, Cus D'Amato taught that a fighter needs to be protected from start to finish. Both hands up in front of your face, almost as if you're a turtle that's constantly in its shell. The hands protect the chin. The right arm constantly protecting the liver. The left, the solar plexus. Hands below the eyes to not inhibit peripheral vision. Your hands and elbows move with you, so that when your opponent throws a punch, you block it as you're coming forward, and then you counter. Peekaboo fighters have a squared up stance, with both feet pointing forward. It was designed to better allow for head movement while pressing the action. But with Tyson, although his shoulders were squared up, contrary to what many believe, usually Tyson's feet weren't both pointing forward. He stood with a slightly more traditional stance. A fighter must always be balanced and poised to deliver the knockout punch. The style is normally picked up by fighters who are short for their weight division or around their average height. The idea of turning a height or reach disadvantage into an advantage seems attractive to a lot of shorter fighters. However, with slight changes in tactics to your punch selection and how you avoid punches, the style can work effectively for taller fighters, as seen with Cus D'Amato's trained fighter Joey Hadley. For shorter fighters, be not discouraged by your height. As long as you have the spiritual warrior within you, size doesn't matter. Early in his career, Tyson was dismissed as too short for the heavyweight division. But as Mike's opponents lay crumpled on the canvas, they didn't think he was too short.
You got a short guy, make him shorter. You got a tall guy, make him taller. That you got those assets to utilize.
Most fighters used to fighting opponents 6'3", 6'2", the average of heavyweight. And I feel that I use it to my advantage because I move my head, I'm very quick, and I'm low to the ground, and it's very difficult to hit me. I get a lot of leverage from my punches. And it doesn't matter if I punch up or straight or down or around. I have good leverage.
It's not the size of the person in the fight. It was the size of fighting the person. What I learned from Cus D'Amato, he told me how you take a reach away. Mike really never had any trouble with tall guys. He used to eat them up. The bigger they are, the harder they fall.
Particularly in a fight perhaps like Reggie Gross fight, where Mike stood directly in front of Reggie Gross. And Reggie opened up with us 10 or 15 punches and could not hit Mike.
seen a performance like that in 15,000 fights.
You talking to me? You talking to me?
Head movement, the most important aspect of the style. To peekaboo practitioners, it is of paramount importance that they not get hit. Most people don't realize that Tyson was a very smart puncher because he knew how to hit and not get hit. You throw punches with bad intentions and then move your head after every punch. Slipping straight punches in a side-to-side motion rather than forward, and bobbing and weaving round punches in a U-shape. Having hands low and being stationary is a recipe for getting hit. A constant variety of head movement is needed to keep the opponent guessing. It does not matter how good your chin is. The best chin is the one that doesn't get hit. When facing a murderous puncher, if he is continuously missing and then is on the receiving end of counter punches, hesitation and frustration will overcome him, forcing your opponent to either punch in a vulnerable position or run, playing right into the hands of an aggressive counter puncher. Their greatest asset will become their weakness, and they will fear you. Move your head, move your head. That was Cuss's mantra. Even on his deathbed, D'Amato stressed the importance of head movement to Mike. He repeated his mantra even as he was dying. It's clear to see why the press referred to him as Cautious Cuss. Defense was always on his mind, and he felt it should be always on the mind of his disciples.
Professional fighter has got to learn how to hit, not get hit, at the same time be excited. That's what professional fighters are. You got to be clever, you got to be smart, and not get hit. And when you're able to do this, you're a fighter.
For all his brute force, Tyson was a student of the sport. He worked hard on technique to improve himself.
What a purpose of the slip bag is to get the fighter moving his head, to get him in the habit of moving his head correctly. You have to try to be elusive. See, as long as the fighter's trying to be elusive, he's going to be all right.
Tyson was very good at slipping jabs, and that was one of his greatest strengths. When he could get through it, and that jab would just hit. Then when they jabbed, he slipped a punch, and that created an opening, and he would knock you out.
You have to get those punches. Yeah, my hands don't have to throw punches by the counter, like when you move up, uppercut with him, uppercut right hand. That's what, if you can't do that, you got to go stand and you have to make it. Just wait for the defense to you have to punch.
When I'm on the heavy bag with Michael, I'm looking on his form. I tell him you're not moving enough because you gotta move at least 3 times. Certain punches, you throw a straight punch, you need 3 times. You throw a hook, you need twice.
Mike was at his best when he was defensive, because in being defensive, it always gave him the opportunity to land a big punch.
Trained him steadily. When he got to the point of slipping punches, we had a difficult time getting people to box with him, because he proved to be a very hard puncher with both hands. Tyson not only had a very hard lifting punch in either hand, but he had the most elusive qualities, he had the most important quality, the will to win. He had the desire to win, he wants to be the best. And he makes him miss a counter.
D'Amato always referred to boxing as the hurt business. Hearing the lectures he gave Mike, instructing him to break his opponent's ribs and explode his eardrums, it's little wonder why Tyson fought so viciously in the ring. Cuss believed boxing was all about entertainment. He desired his fighter to always press forward, showing aggression. Backing up meant you were retreating. It was all about action and giving the crowd their money's worth. In Cuss's words, the peekaboo style wasn't designed to make any guy miss. You make them miss once, twice, and then you get in. The purpose of D'Amato's trained fighters to be the meanest, most vicious fighter ever to step in the ring, able to disable and dismantle your opponent in an exciting manner, not to lean back and outpoint your way to victory, a Spartan approach that Iron Mike wholeheartedly adopted, while remaining achieve the maximum devastation level in all his attacks. He would try to make two punches sound like one. He also felt throwing punches and punches had a higher percentage than resulting in a knockout. Wear your opponent out with continual attacks and not let up. Break their will, break their spirit, and then their body will fold.
Mike Tyson actually is a cold business like killer.
There you go. Again. Who's the last guy to top? Right to center, that's
This is a guy that uppercuts half the age and another age body shot. He'd always get them to reach down into his territory and tag them quick. He's got this good speed that if he catches you leaning down a little bit, you won't have two times to do it. Mike throws punches to kill you. He has bad intentions because he was taught.
The jab, a crucial punch that many do not associate with peekaboo fighters, but a punch that Cus D'Amato stressed that his pupils should learn. Despite what many people think, in his early years, the jab was a tool Mike often included in his offensive arsenal. Always urging his fighters to jab often, Cus felt it should be just as damaging as every other punch. It should be as a battering ram that breaks through your opponent's defense. The arm working like a pistol to snap your opponent's head back, leaving him defenseless to the following attack. Tyson referred to the jab as a blinder that would blind his opponent for a split second as he would either spring to the side or follow up with furious combination.
Take it right to him. Strong like that and just work him open. Jabbing is all to the time. If you say jab at the right time, it'll be 5, 6, and I'll jab back to you. Boom, boom, and then I twist it. Boom, and I'm at the side where you can't hit me. Like if you're expecting to beat him, you don't have to fear. You don't have to fear. But I'm here already. I'm perhaps going to get you already a couple of times. I mean, the truth is beat. Yeah.
While the fighter focuses on being defensively sound, the anticipation of their opponent throwing punches may inhibit them from throwing a punch with the full power they possess. The D'Amato shift, a sidestepping move where you jump and twist your opponent's side, will allow you to get to a position where you can unleash a punch with as much force as you are capable of delivering, all the while being completely free from the fear of being countered. A twisting pivot move that's becoming more and more prevalent in boxing today.
He does it with lightning speed. He can strike a blow. And that split second takes my feet at your side. And it's almost the complete surprise to his opponent. And in that position, he can let a palm go.
Michael would move his head right side to side, probably stepping to the side, aiming for a wiggle, aiming for the fall leg.
Remember from your side, you can let that punch go with the right concentration because you know he can't hit you back. So you can throw the palm with all the power you can generate.
explain. 7, jab to the head. 8, jab to the body.
The number system, a method of coding specific punches with numbers that were not commonly associated with. Custom Model's purpose for using this system was to allow the boxer's corner to be able to yell out random numbers, and the other fighter and trainer would be clueless as to what the instructions meant. Although the numbering system is not absolutely necessary to learning the style, Jose Torres, world champion and practitioner of the style, felt it was so effective, he refused to fight if Cuss wasn't sitting ringside to call out the numbers.
We use a number system where I pull out the different numbers for the different punches. I give you 1, 5, 1.
When someone tells me the number is the 4, 5, 6, I know exactly what they are. I don't even have to think.
To the young peekaboo fanatics who dream of being a fighter to successfully bring the style back to the main stage, regardless of how well the style was designed, an unquenchable desire and an unrelenting will is needed to reach the pinnacle of the sport. And although Mike Tyson was a legend, all those who attempt to follow his movements, style, and aspire to emulate him should always look to surpass their idol and more efficiently execute the style. Learn your craft, and perhaps someday, videos will be made about you.
For 12-year-old Mike Tyson, perfecting the moves he learned became an obsession. Long after lights out in the reform school, guards would hear Tyson grunting as he practiced into the night in the dark in his room. Perfecting technique became Tyson's obsession.
Tyson was like a sponge. He just absorbed everything that Cuss had to teach him. The head movement, throwing a punch to his bad intention. I remember Cuss showing him how to throw the uppercut with the proper snatch. And Mike would come right over here in the mirror and just practice it for long, sustained periods of time, 10, 15 minutes, just over and over and over.
I want to have a perfect fight. I want to be the best fighter.
And all my life, I've been thinking in terms of developing a fighter who is perfect. That's possible, you know, that's perfection as we know it.
What would you want to say to a youngster, to a kid that maybe wants to get into the boxing profession? Always keep the faith. Never lose faith. The idea is to keep going and never give up. Even when times are hard, that's when it's easy to give up.
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe.
First in, last out. Running meetings upstairs and shipments downstairs. A thumbs up from the boss. And a promotion with your name on it. Rockstar, life is your stage.
In a time where boxing was rife with corruption and was ruled by organized crime, no fighter more perfectly represented the sweet science's dark age better than the fearsome Sonny Liston. His soulless glare that lacked emotion and his scowl that could crush a man's will to win, the one they called the Night Train, brought an air of menace everywhere he went. And although his name is synonymous with fear, no fighter was more misunderstood and mistreated. Rainy Day Boxing brings you Sonny Liston, a boxing legend.
Sonny Liston, I think, was possibly the greatest intimidator of all time. I've seen him stare guys down where they were so scared climbing up the ring steps they could barely get in the ring.
Looking at viewers, we hated everyone. Looking at writers, we hated all writers.
I watched him here in the gym a few months ago, and he can hit a guy in the elbows and just about break his arm.
Liston served time for armed robbery and later for beating up a cop. He'd been arrested more than 100 times. His manager was tied to organized crime. And one thing more, Liston could fight like hell.
Born Charles L. Liston in Arkansas, USA, on an unknown date, Sonny's beginnings were as humble as could be. He was the 24th of 25 children. Growing up on a cotton plantation, his father used him as a substitute for a mule. And when he wasn't being worked by his father, he was being whipped by his father, and he had the scars to prove it.